The Paladins of Thunder are a semi-codex-compliant chapter created during the Ultima founding, born from the gene seed of the loyalist Primarch Rogel Dawn of the Imperial Fists. This chapter gained some notoriety during the Indomitus Crusade, helping their brothers, the Crimson Fists, in their darkest hour against the demon incursion of the demon prince Raxor, and, later, commanded an Imperial force composed by Salamander's successor chapter, the Drakebloods, in the desert world of Nimrod. Thanks to their services, the Lord Commander of the Imperium, Rabute Gilliman, conceded to the Paladins of Thunder their homeworld, the agri-world of Zephyron 4, as well as recruitment rights to the entire Zephyron system. One of the peculiarities of the chapter is that most of their high-ranking officials are members of the Apothecarian of the chapter. This is particularly notable with the title that the leader of the chapter bears, Magister Medicae. Like most of Dawn's sons, the Paladins of Thunder revere the Emperor of Mankind, but not like their most zealous brothers, the Black Templars. The Paladins of Thunder think of the Emperor of Mankind as their grandfather, capable of watching over each one of their grandsons from his golden throne. However, they think that Rogel Dawn, their father, is the true embodiment of the Emperor's virtues and that he waits beside him until his sons are in direst of situations. In the vaults of Archmagus Dominus Belisarius' Call, the vats that will house the warriors of the Paladins of Thunder started to be filled with warriors from not only Holy Terra itself, but with some of the bravest men of the Imperium Auxiliae, their medical officers. These young and probably scared men went around the streets and buildings from Segmentum Solar during the darkest days of the Horus Heresy, trying to find survivors from not only their fellow soldiers, but from the Angels of Death themselves, knowing that, for every life lost within the forces loyal to the Emperor, they are closer to losing against the traitors. When the Ultima founding happened in 999 M41, the 1,000 Marines woke under the Red Planet and were clad in white and purple armor. Damian Talasar, once a medical officer from the Solar Auxilia, was chosen for leading his chapter, not as a chapter master, but as a Magister Medicae. They accompanied the other Primaris Marines during the Indomitus Crusade, and, maybe because of their gene seed made them do it, or because of the situation of the planet, the Paladins of Thunder fought alongside the surviving Crimson Fists and their Primaris reinforcements in Rin's world, killing foul demons of chaos and saving both human and Astartes' lives. During this part of the crusade, Magister Medicae Talasar died, saving a lieutenant and a couple of Crimson Fist's marines from the blow of a demon of Khorne, as he used both his Narthessium and his plasma pistol to break the gargantuan axe, as his iron halo broke during a previous fight. Due to his sacrifice, Pedro Cantor, once the battle was over, promised the new leader of the chapter, Emilius Castor, that the Crimson Fists will be their brothers in their time of need, as well as they did. Not far from that, the Paladins of Thunder fought alongside the Salamander's successor chapter, the Drakebloods, in the world of Nimrod, against a massive orc force that overwhelmed the local Hive World's PDF and was in the brink of becoming a war. During this planetary campaign, the recently named Magister Medicae showed his skills as a tactician when he fortified a pass that led to one of the biggest oases in the southern continent, and where the remains of the PDF were holding positions, and then proceeded to crush one of the wannabe warboss's most trusted Nob's forces in a battle that will be called the Green Wall. At the end of the campaign, the skull of the warboss was gifted to Castor as a gesture of goodwill from the Drakebloods. But not only were notable their assistant to fellow Astartes. On the world of Virion too, the first and third companies defended one of the bases of operations of the Order of Serenity from the Orders Hospitalier of the Adeptus Sororitas against the Tyranid Splinter Hive Fleet and saving their Almanis commander. With the death of the Lictor that almost killed the Almanis, a relation of cooperation between both organizations was born. After many other battles where the Paladins of Thunder mainly took a support role, both as defenders and medical support alongside sisters from the aforementioned order, the Primarch of the Ultramarines gave the Paladins of Thunder the fief of Zephyron IV, an agri-world located in the Imperium's Ultima Segmentum, as well as the right to recruit from the other inhabited planets of the system, Zephyron 3, a night world led by House Alexios. Once their fortress ministry, the Halls of Solace, was built and Aemilius Castor was anointed governor of Zephyron 4, the Paladins of Thunder began the usual activities that every chapter in the Imperium's Nihilus does, sending forces to invade worlds and stop incursions from Xenos races across the sector. The Paladins of Thunder did their duty without hesitation, fighting mostly orcs and traitor Astartes. But one day, traitor forces staged a rebellion in Zephyron 3. A few days afterwards, a chaos fleet of the Alpha Legion descended upon the system, with only the 5th and 9th companies located in the system at the moment, alongside Aemilius Castor. Trying to stop the system from falling to disarray, Magister Medicae Castor sent the 5th Company to Zephyron 3 to help House Alexios and its retainers against the traitor knights and cultists that were reinforced by the Alpha Legion. Meanwhile, he'll fortify the capital of his chapter's homeworld, as well as use the small battle group as means to both evacuate civilians and to send messages to other Imperial forces nearby. With help from the 112th Zephyrian Armored Division and the 71st Zephyrian Regiment, Castor managed to evacuate a half of the population of Zephyron 4 before the first wave of Chaos forces attacked. Once it happened, both the capital and the Halls of Solace were sieged, stopping the forces located in those places to assist one another or other places on the planet, leaving some minor settlements and spaceports defended by the PDF or, in the worst case, at the mercy of the Alpha Legion. With this maneuver, the traitor forces also managed to stop communications between both worlds. Nevertheless, the stalwart resistance from the Imperial forces managed to survive at least until the arrival of reinforcements spearheaded by the cruiser Valiant Knight that houses the 1st Company of the Paladins of Thunder, as well as several strike vessels from the Crimson Fist's 2nd and 4th Company. Thanks to the valiant sacrifice of the last remains of the 71st, Castor was able to send a quick transmission to the fleet. "We can hold." Unable to receive a response, he hoped that the reinforcements will follow his orders and help the other planet, or at least purge it. This decision came with a cost, however. The Fortress Ministry fell, but not before being set ablaze by the last Tech Marine of the 9th Company as a squad, led by the Lieutenant Gabriel Javis, escaped with the few relics of the chapter, losing all the gene vats. Once reunited with the Magister Medicae and the survivors of the Imperial forces on the capital, they were ready to fight to the last man. But, luckily, there was no need for a heroic sacrifice this time. From the sky, Imperial Knights and drop pods fell, giving a chance to the defenders to sally forth and make a pincer movement, killing the traitor leader in a swift blow performed by the 1st Company, leaving the Hydra without heads. After this, the traitor forces on the planet were systematically eliminated, as well as a part of their fleet before they retreated to the warp. At the end, Castor was contacted by the captain of the 2nd Company of the Crimson Fists, who gave him a heavily modified Crimson Power Fist, Cantor's Promise, as a gesture of a greater brotherhood between both chapters. Without Fortress Ministry, and needing both of the inhabited worlds help rebuilding and dealing with the surviving cults, the entire chapter was called back to build the new Fortress Ministry, the Hand of Retribution, atop of the ruins of the old one. But also to get their mature progenoid glands extracted, so the new gene vats were ready as new recruits were needed. Once the inhabitants of Zephyron 4 were reunited, they, as well as the remaining houses of the Quaestor Imperialis of Zephyron 3, gathered and declared the chapter as Saviors of Zephyron, and their commander as Lord Guardian of Zephyron. Thanks to their good relations with the Order of Serenity of the Adeptus Sororitas, they were able to establish a hospital at the system capital, Orpheus Hive, that was decimated by the Alpha Legion during the conflict. As both the 5th and the 9th Companies were almost destroyed during the sieges, they were assigned the roles of trainers for the new generation of Marines needed. Due to the actions during the campaign, Gabriel Jabus was ascended to captain of the 9th Company. Traditions. The Weeping Vigil. During the anniversary of the defeat of the arch-traitor Horus Lupercal, the entire chapter stays still and awake and try to canalize the feelings that their Primarch had when he discovered the lifeless body of his brother Sanguinius and his father in the brink of death, and start to cry tears of sorrow as images that some say come directly from the living mind of the Primarch appear directly onto their minds. Champion of the Emperor. As some of their chapter brothers, the Paladins of Thunder choose a champion of the Emperor from their ranks during the Weeping Vigil. If a Space Marine cries a single blood tear, he is considered as the chosen by Dawn himself and is given a double-handed chainsword, similar in fashion to that of their Primarchs, and sent to lead a company alongside their captain. During the next Feast of Blades, the hopes of the chapter rest upon this chosen warrior. The Oath of Fidelity. Once every 20 years, the chapter celebrates the day their first Magister Medicae fell in combat, and both them and the Crimson Fists made a promise of blood and fidelity to each other. Both first captains gather on board the battle barge Rin's Resilience and cut each other's hands and recite the words that Pedro Cantor said to Emilius Castor. The Pilgrimage. Following the example of Rebute Gilliman, once he awakened, the Magister Medicae must go in a pilgrimage to Inwit, the place where Rogel Dawn was raised, and bring with them the fur of the biggest white bear he can find, and wear it until death, where the cape will go into the inner sanctum of the Fortress Monastery. The regular Astartes, those who don't have the qualities to be a part of the chapter's organization, follow the traditional codex structure, as well as the members of the Lexicalm or the Armory. But the members of the Apothecarian follow a different rank path alongside their brothers. When an Astartes is initiated into the Apothecarian, he becomes a minor therapist as he studies inside the Fortress Monastery the old tomes of healing and anatomy of mankind. Once the minor therapist is considered ready by his superiors, he becomes a therapist when he is permitted to study some of the obscure tomes made by Magus biologists about xenospecies like the Tau or the Eldari. Once the Council of Apothecaries decides that his learning is complete, the therapist has to do a practical exam, usually in a battlefield, of anatomy of a, usually dead, body. The species is selected randomly, as the nature of the test is to see if the aspirant is ready to get the apothecary equipment. A lot of aspirants fail the test and stay as therapists their entire life. If he is worthy, he will become an apothecary. Before that, the aspirant followed the ranks of the Codex Astartes stipulated for a regular Astartes. Now, he is able to be a part of the Council of Apothecaries, who decides who ascends to the different ranks inside the Apothecarian, as well as decides between the members of the next Primus Medicae, captain of the first company, when the actual one becomes Magister Medicae, chapter master, or dies in battle.